Hey there, everyone. This is Chris McDonald, and we're doing a quick, today should be a very quick Timer Tip Tuesday on the RaceDay scoring backup to the cloud. So the main purpose of this is twofold. One is so that you're able to back up the race so that you don't have to keep all races on your local device. And then the secondary use case is if you manage a team of timers, and maybe those timers are weekend warriors and you're the full-time person. And so on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you spend your time creating race files or creating RaceDay scoring files for your timers. You want to be able to disseminate those quickly and efficiently. So we're going to go through a couple of use cases, but I think we will get through there pretty quickly today. So this is me. Most of you guys know me. I've been doing this for a while. And so I won't talk about myself. But if you ever do need to reach out to me, Chris, C-R-I-S-P, at RunSignup.com is the way to get a hold of me. And I'm more than happy to chat with you about specific use cases or just general how-tos. So what we're talking about today, like I said, is just a quick backup, quick overview of what we mean when we say backup to the cloud. And then we're going to go through 4 different scenarios that you're going to encounter when you do this. And that is backing up for the first time, opening a backup on another device for the first time, backing up any time after the first time, which that to me is the easiest. You'll see what I mean in a second. And then you'll have opening a backup when the file is present already on the computer. So those are the 4 main scenarios that you're going to bump into. And this could be, it doesn't matter where the file originated. It's how we use the device to open everything up. So, oh, I forgot to take out the notes. So the key points on this release are that we have some increases in data security and continuity of operations. We also bypass the need to import and export zip files in public folders. You're able to share the scoring data with junior timers or vice versa. You can easily access and manage the data from a different computer or multiple computers. But if you're on multiple computers, they're not talking to each other at the same time. So please keep that in mind. The backup files at a click of a button. You can also see the last 25 backups per race. And then we'll have some links available for you that you can get to the blog. So with that being said, we're going to go straight into a demo. So I am going to, we're going to use as many different forms of RaceDay scoring at the same time. So just so you guys are aware, this is RaceDay scoring on this local device. And then I have a Google Meet where I have RaceDay scoring on another computer, which happens to be sitting right next to me, but it could be across the country, obviously. So we will go back to that primary computer, and just like you would to start out any race in RaceDay scoring, we're going to quickly go to Manage Races, import a race, and we're going to go to Search. I'm going to put in my password, and we see our test race. So I'm going to say I'm going to pull this in for 6-7, save. We've got the event in here. Hooray! Now, usually, your normal RaceDay scoring setup, you're working from top to bottom. So I'm going to quite literally, you can see we don't have any participants in here. I'm just going to set up a very cursory overview of things. Well, we'll add a stream. Let's see. We'll have a start finish. All this seems fine to me. And I'll just, let's see if I can go in and we'll add a stream to start. And we will we'll add a stream to finish. So we have some streams in there. They're not connected. That's no big deal. Scored events. We're going to do a quick setup. I don't really care about this. I have had some support tickets recently that forget to set this correctly, especially for cycling events. So it defaults to minute per mile. We want miles per hour in here because this is a test cycling event. We've got our start and finish locations are all correct. And again, the point of me doing this right now is that I'm setting this race up. So it's not going to be at 0. There's no segments, age groups, whatever. We'll just do quick range and save it. And then that's all we're going to do. So at this point, we've got our race set up. We've got our 6 people in there, so we can go and see. There's a bunch of really creative names in the event. But so the general setup of this race is done, all in a matter of whatever it was, 2-3 minutes. So this race is done, and if I leave this race, nothing happens. This race is presently not backed up to a cloud. We do not have an auto backup function. So this is on the very first time. So again, this race was just created. So if I want to back this up to a cloud, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to leave the event. So I'm going back to the dashboard, and I go to manage races. And now you see this test race today. You've probably noticed that you have a few features out here to the side. You have a delete, an export, and a backup. Now, previously, some of you guys that have been doing this and disseminating this information to other timers, you have been exporting this file. And then you've been importing, you've been choosing a race file to import on the computer. Well, now, if you're doing things, all you have to do is hit, and this is the only time you have to do it, and it's for the very first time. I'm going to hit backup, and I get this toast up here. And if you hover over the toast, it doesn't leave. So scoring setup for race test race successfully backed up to cloud. Other computers can restore this backup by importing race from RunSignup. So if I let that go, it's going to go away. So what does that mean? That means if I go, and we're going to migrate to the second computer now. So now we're on this computer. We're going to go to manage. Oop, I have to switch over to the other computer. Sorry. We're going to go to manage races right here. So I'm going to import a race already on RunSignup. You'll see the dates. I'm going to search. I'm going to put in my password again. And so I can see that I have that test race. Now, this looks just like everything else does. So the only difference is now I have a different option. I can import the original race like I did just, a couple of minutes ago, or I can pull in this full backup that is timestamped 6/7/22 at 12:06 p.m. And so 1 minute ago. So if I just click this, it's going to give me some, and that's not a big deal. It should give me some toast messages from my current setup, but it's going to say, what date do you want to save this on? So I save it. I go in, and you can see that I already have 6 people. I already have my streams. My timing locations, I didn't really play with those. My scored events are already set up in miles per hour. My age groups are already set up. And so all of this is set up. So all I would need to do to time on this computer, I kind of do 2 or 3 things to make sure that this secondary computer is ready to go. And that is, once I load it in, I go in to participant sync, and I save my sync settings on this computer. And then a lot of times I'll go into my scored events, and I'll just save my scored events as well. So saving the participant sync is a really good thing to do because those original sync settings are set to the original computer. So that original computer will keep syncing. This new computer hasn't been synced yet. So that means you'll pull in everything that was saved, but potentially any updates, like if you're doing dynamic bib assignment or something like that, it's not going to pull in without going in and saving this sync setting. All right, so we will minimize this second computer, and I will pull back up the original race. All right, so let's go back in. So we're already in our test race. We already have everything set up. Let's go and just change something. I just like to change things to change it. So just keep in mind, we're gonna exclude clock time. We're gonna make this a chip race. And this is what we want. So we're gonna hit save. So we changed something within the race. So, okay, well, I'm done setting things up for today. So what am I gonna do? Well, I can either click on the RaceDay scoring button, or I can X out. Either one does the same thing. Let's just X out because this is a good example as well. It's gonna bring up the exact same screen. So if I hit close, are you sure you wanna close RaceDay scoring? Now you can just close it and nothing happens, or you can close and back up to RunSignup. So the same thing happens if I go to here. would you like to send a backup before you go home? Yes, no, do not ask again. So let's just go ahead and hit yes. Again, you get this toast message, right? Well, let's say, so we backed up from gun race to chip race. So now we're going to go back to our second computer. Now, the thing that you have to remember is nothing is happening automatically. So if I leave this, I'm going to say I don't want to back this up because everything was backed up on the original computer. So if I go back into manage races and I click into it, nothing, scored events, it's still clock time. Nothing's changed. Well, I didn't get an option to pull in that backup. All right. Well, here is what you have to do. So you're going to go into manage races on the secondary computer. You're going to delete it, go back in and import. And so now you see that secondary backup. So I bring that in, save. We go into our scored events, chip time, exclude clock time. Chip time, exclude clock time. So those are the only two differences. Is once an event is already set up, you have the ability, you don't have to do anything extra, just leaving the event or closing race day scoring gives you the opportunity to back up to the cloud. And then if you're trying to renew an update on your secondary timing computer, they have to remove the event as per today. Now, I think in the next 2 days, we will have the ability to, let's go in here and delete that. So there will be the ability to name the backup. So that's coming out, I believe, this week. So you will be able to name the backup. So it'll help you understand which one you want to use. And keep in mind, for those of you that are sharing a login with your secondary timers, it's going to get really confusing if you're not using your timer dashboard and giving secondary access to people with their own profiles, because it's not going to say the name of the person that did the backup. So you're not going to know it's going to become more and more challenging for you to know who actually made that backup, who was logged in when that backup happened. So just keep that in mind. It is not suggested to be sharing a timer account login. It's instead going into your timer dashboard, giving secondary access to your secondary timers. So again, you will be able to rename these, and you will be able to back up the event within the race. So what that means is while you're in here, you don't have to leave the race. You can actually and I don't have a screenshot of it, but you'll be able to back the event itself up within race day scoring without having to click out and come back in. So if you've got your connector going, and we can be on, there seems to be a lag on the secondary computer through Google Meet, so I will do it on here. So if you've got your reads coming in, and then you leave, I'm going to let that go all the way. It's going to give you two things. Would you like to stop the collection of reads so they're not attributed to the wrong race? And most of the time you're going to hit yes. And then would you like to send a backup? Boom, saved and backed up. So that is the gist of how everything works. Were there any questions? Sounds like we had one, but I got lucky and answered it already. No more questions? You guys got it? We answered everything? It's a fairly simple and very, very useful, in my opinion, if you have multiple teams. For instance, one of our timers will start working on creating the events on like Monday or Tuesday, the week before the event. So like, 10 days before. so they can do all their testing and stuff like that. And so that allows you to then push the updates, and you don't have to necessarily use TeamViewer or something like that to do updates. You can monitor what's going on. They can update it to the cloud. You can pull it down on your device and check to make sure there's no errors. You can push it back up, and then they can pull it on their computer. So it's a very, very useful tool for timing companies that are that have more than one time.
Hey, Chris, it's James. Just wanted to kind of, I know this kind of coming up in the questions, and I want to talk about one aspect that is coming. So again, it's not there right now, but I definitely something that everybody's going to be kind of wanting to understand. As Chris demoed today you have to delete the race to kind of go out and see those other backups and restore from a previous backup that you've created. You know, in the next week or so, there will be the ability for you to not have to delete the race, but, you know, re-import from the cloud right into the existing race. And, you know, that's why we are adding this tag. As he said, you want to start using that name that comes out this week and start tagging these with different keywords like, you know, this is master created by Steve, or, you know, whatever kind of words that would help you identify your workflow and identify different backups. But yeah, definitely want to be able to give you the way to, you know, grab a backup without having to delete the race, and that will be something that we're working on. The other thing that Chris covered is really good. Good practice always to kind of resave scored settings, the sync settings. I will let you know that in reality, anytime we import a race, whether or not we import from the file or from the cloud, we will always reset your sync settings. So we'll start the sync again from RunSignup for all your participant group data, and all that stuff will always come back to, you know, a starting point anytime you import from a backup or from the cloud. But it's good practice, as Chris said, just go ahead and hit that save button on the scored events and kind of get things set up again.
Yeah, and that goes without, even if you're not backing things up. Like a lot of times when you've made a lot of changes, I think we did a troubleshooting webinar a few weeks back, and those two items were something that we kind of suggested to do regularly, like as kind of first line of defense if you're having issues, is hitting those resave buttons. And then somebody just shot me an email that wasn't able to ask the question through the chat, and that is, are there any plans to allow us to back up non-RunSignup races? Yes, so you're able to back those up. It's just not, the race itself is not within RunSignup. It's backing it up to the cloud within RaceDay Score. So you can still back that up and pull that down. And then the secondary question was an option to back up all races to the cloud by default. And so that's probably, I don't know if you mean like when you exit out all instances of races from that computer would get backed up, but you probably wouldn't want that, because let's say you have a primary and secondary timer, and that secondary timer is managing a race and doesn't need your help. Maybe you set things up, but you don't need their help. If you were in another race like a week later, it would then push your backup of just the setup to the top of the list. And so I don't think you would want a complete backup. I think you're talking about like kind of the race director has the ability to do a full backup of all events. But usually you're only wanting to do that if you're setting up a computer for the very first time, and not midstream pull all the races in. So Tom, I hope that answered those two questions.
And again, just to kind of clarify about the RaceDay suite, again, we provide the whole RaceDay suite for all of our timers. You don't have to use RunSignup registration in order to time, score races, and use the platform. So as Chris was just saying, as long as you publish the race to RunSignup, all the cloud backups and everything will work for you, even though the race may not be using registration.
In terms of the limit of number of backups, you'll be able to see the previous 25 backups. So there won't necessarily be a limit of the number of times you can back up. You just won't, if you were to need like a backup from 3 weeks ago and you decided to just randomly back things up like 50 times in a row, you're going to not be able to get back to that one from 3 weeks ago. So most of the time you're not backing things up over and over and over again, and need to get, and you can still export. Let's keep that in mind. So you can still export the event and save that zip file. Jimmy, 25 total, not 20, 25 per race. So 25 instances per race. Let's see, I'm just going through some of these questions. I think we covered all the questions. Yeah, not sure if anybody else has some. You can't see the actual backup. Mark asked, can you see the backup through RunSignup? You can't see the backup, but you can see that it was backed up on RunSignup on your timer dashboard. If you go to the races, I think there's like timer statistics or something like that on the timer dashboard. You can see what was being used, but you can't actually get to the backup.
And this is the reason why we love Chris, because he's always pushing us along, because he's a timer too. So yeah, the stuff on the timer dashboard is coming. We're definitely going to be adding more stuff out there. So that'll be a really cool feature. But right now, the way to see the backups is just to hit that import button and you'll see your list of backups there. But you'll have to do that through RaceDay scoring right now.
But just keep in mind, if you haven't deleted the original at the moment, like today, if you haven't deleted the original, you're not going to see those other listings of backups available to pull down. And if for some reason, I will say this, if you have poor connectivity, you want to make sure you see that toast. Don't go deleting things without seeing that toast, this thing at the top. Give me one sec. This right here, if this doesn't pop up, and the first time you do it, you saw how fast that popped up just now. It took all of, whatever, a second. The first time you do it, it might take, a couple more seconds, like 5 seconds. But you do want to wait. Like I always suggest waiting to see this toast for backing things up. So the initial time you back things up, this takes slightly longer than it does. Again, like if I go in and back out, I mean, that took a second. But the first time you do it, it takes slightly longer. So definitely wait for this to populate. And the race backup does do all reads. So if I go, let's do an example. I think I probably have a import. Somebody asked, am I going to see all previous reads? So let's see if I've got a race. Here we go. Boom, we've got some previous backups. So this was probably after the race itself. So I'm gonna go in there. And again, this is a real race that was timed. And so now granted, I have no idea. There you go, 3,000 raw reads. Sorry, 2,000 raw reads. Never mind, I'm gonna stop counting. A lot more than 2,000. So anyways, so we've got quite a few raw reads in there. So all of these are in there. You've got all the reads. So this is a full backup. Just to answer that question, Jimmy, it's not just your settings. It is a full backup with all the data in there that you would want at the event. So. And I didn't save anything just then, so it's not asking me about any updates. So nothing was changed there.
So one last thing I wanted to note on future releases. So as Chris said, we do have 2 changes coming probably this week. the ability to name backups, to identify them differently, and the ability to back up a race while you have it loaded. In the next cycle, so probably in another couple of weeks, but within the month for sure, we'll have the ability to restore a backup from within a race. So you won't have to delete the race itself and import it. What you'll be able to do is right as the race is loaded, double check and see if there are any updates, any new backups available, and it will import it and write over what you have currently. But that will be something that comes in probably by the end of the month for sure, but likely within 2 weeks.
And this is a great way to store your data. So it's not the best idea to keep all of your races on your timing computer. Most people will have a local computer that maybe stays in the office or something like that. Or they'll keep a thumb drive or a zip drive or just an external hard drive where they're storing, or cloud for that matter, that they're storing their backups. So, as you time more and more races, it's going to slow things down the more races you actually have within your managed races side of things. So just keep that in mind. So backing this up is a great way of having access to it later without having to have it local on your device. All right, well, I think we've had a lot of good questions and engagement. So again, if you have continued questions about something, let us know. Feel free to reach out to me by email. And then as always, if you're at a race and you're running into issues, this Get Help button, we suggest to use this even on Monday, Tuesday when you're setting up a race and you're kind of hitting a wall with a setup question or something like that, or you're not certain if something's going to work the way you want it to. Send this in, put the description of the issue in there and hit send. You can also book training sessions with me down here at the bottom. But your help guides are here, and this sends a backup to our support team, puts it in a queue, and that way we're monitoring that 7 days a week. And yeah, I know this sounds like a very, very simple little tool, this backup to the cloud. It is incredibly helpful. So just get in the practice of using it. Saving and backing things up is a great way to just keep your data safe and secure. So thanks everybody. I think we've answered all the questions. So we appreciate you joining today and look forward to chatting with you in another week. Take care.